welcome to Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living.
Recording in progress.
We're a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Our promise is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional unceded lands and waters of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we acknowledge how much of what we know in this country today, including its culture, economic growth and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. Please join me for our opening song, In This Very Room, by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
Oh, there's Victor. Liz?
So we are going to have our meditation. And with the meditation, I invite you to just settle into your seats if you're seated. Just be aware of your feet on the floor. Aware of the support of the chair if you're in a chair. And just slowly allow yourself to focus on the breath. Breathing in. Breathing out. And in this rise and fall of the breath, we are continually in the flow of life. Each of us is a place on this planet in the larger life that is all connected. So as we breathe in and breathe out, each breath in, each inhalation brings with it an increase in the heart rate. And each breath out slows that heart rate down. With that being the case, if you're wanting to ramp up, just be more conscious of your breath in. Getting ready to start a race, getting ready to begin a project. getting ready to speak, to share ideas. If we're wanting to slow down, if we're wanting to bring more peace, shift the focus to the exhalation, to the breath out. And you can pause in between the breaths in and the breaths out. And just expand the flow. Expand the flow of life. So allow yourself to consider, is there anything that you're preparing for? And breathe into that preparation. Breathe into that possibility. Are you in the process like sunrise? The earth turning towards the sun, towards new beginnings? Allow yourself to consider all of the things that you are sustaining, keeping going. And let yourself notice the relationship between yourself sustaining it and the daytime. Can you see your activities as part of a larger flow? Part of a larger pattern of life? And again, paying attention to the exhalation. What are the things in our lives that we are completing? Just be present to all of those things that you are successfully completing. These may be big projects. These may be goals that you have set and that you finally arrived and completed. Could be something as simple as finishing a meal, finishing a snack. But just see it as part of this larger pattern, part of this flow of life, moving in, through, and as you. And with the breath out, let yourself rest in that completion. And in that place of rest, just give space for thankfulness, for gratitude. And in this feeling of thanksgiving, just allow yourself to come back to your body. Back to the feeling of the ground against your feet. Feeling of the air around you on your skin. The feeling of being gifted with embodiment. As you feel comfortable, allow your eyes to open and come back to the space, part of the flow. And so it is. We have our declaration, which we'll say 3 times. Please join me.
We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential.
And so it is. Surprisingly, today's reading is not from the cell phone. It's not from the internet. It is actually from the Science of Mind magazine.
Yes.
And this is by Raymond Anderson. We often talk about being in the flow and going with the flow, but we don't often talk about the paradoxical awareness that we cannot, in fact, be out of the flow. We say that God is all there is. If that is, in fact, what we believe and what we teach, does that not mean everything that has ever been, is now, and will ever be, including you and me, is inextricably not only part of the divine flow, but actually expressions of it? I often remind people that we need not to try to conceptualize God in the absolute, because we can identify the same nature and patterns of spirit in our relative and subjective experiences. Flow shows up as our entire biological mechanism. Our breathing, circulating blood and electrical signals sent through our nervous system are all demonstrations of flow, just as our eating, digesting, and eliminating. The entire period expressed as the dash between our date of birth and our date of death is as undeniable expression of flow, as you can find. When we talk about being in the flow and going with the flow, we usually refer to a specific aspect, such as being in the flow of abundance and going with the flow of our intuitive wisdom. We refer to these as life-affirming, what many refer to as positive, because they demonstrate our cooperation with the universe rather than our resistance. Or, as some would say, we are not blocking our blessings. We often get so immersed in the quicksand of jargon that we don't take the time to get clear about what it means for us to be in the flow of abundance. It's almost like the vagueness of it all serves to placate us rather than stretch us into being open at the top and at the bottom. Why would we avoid that, you ask? Because it's easier. It requires much less work. Embrace the nature of life itself. But love says that's the truth. Ask any physicist. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. When a cloud dissipates, what happens to the water? It isn't gone, it's just changed form. The same thing goes for you or any other human being on the planet. And so it is.
Good morning. Find something new. Something new. Something new. Nope. Yeah, there it is. I hope everyone remembered to jump ahead on their clocks. It looks like everybody here did. That's good. I usually do it the day before, like during the day. It kind of screws on up.
Hey, Google did it for us.
Yeah. Electronics, they don't have to do it automatic. Well, today's talk is titled "That Still Small Voice," and we're going to play a song because I can, and it has to do with that still small voice. First, I'm going to pause the recording of Zoom. I'm just telling you this ahead of time because the music sometimes they won't allow that on YouTube. So if I can just pause this I can do it on YouTube and not worry about the flag for the song. So I will just pause the recording.
Recording stopped.
And that's it. And it talks to me. And then we will play this song.
Find myself now, hard to find a way
I really like that song. I like the way she goes to the part where it says, still small voice, how it changes. Yeah, that still small voice. That little thing inside of us, which in my opinion is a huge thing inside of us. They also consider it I found this different terms in a gentle whisper. And who and what do you listen to? In this hectic world, we pay attention sometimes to everyone around us. The chaotic committee in our head, which that's what it gets me. Or do we listen to that still small voice, which sometimes can be called intuition? Ernest Holmes says, I believe in a direct revelation of truth through the intuitive and spiritual nature of the individual, and that any person may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And as we reflect on the idea that there is only one mind that is omniscient and fully present and accessible to all of us, we come to the conclusion that if any person can receive divine revelation, then all people can. If one person can, then each and every one of us can. So how do we move through from here to there? Our human nature urges us to pray harder and to discern what actions we need to take to rediscover our intuition. But perhaps effort isn't what we require at all. Maybe all that striving and doing are actually hindering us. Ernest Holmes speaks of the instincts of animals. I love this. It is really omniscient in the animal. The same quality, more highly developed, makes a conscious appearance in man and is what we call intuition. Intuition is God in humans, revealing to them the realities of being. And just as instinct guides the animal, so would intuition guide humans, if they would allow it to do so. See, there's always a little catch there, if we allow it to do so. I always thought, up until, probably, maybe 20 years ago, that, or more, that only women had this intuition, because you always hear that, a woman's intuition. I heard, all my life before. But we all have it, whether you're a male, female, or whatever. We all have intuition. We came with it. It was part of the original setup. Intuition, one of the definitions is direct perception of truth, a fact, independent of any reasoning process. I like the independent, because sometimes intuition, we just, something comes and we know it's the right thing to do, yet, we don't do it. A fact perceived in this way, I like a keen and quick insight. And how many times have you had to make a choice for something? I know we're making choices, every day. Sometimes constantly, it seems like. You've had this choice to make. And you make the choice, and you go, oh, wait, I don't know. That doesn't seem... And then you go on and find out all the other choices. When, in reality, many times, I would say more times than not, your first choice is the right choice, because that's the one that came to you immediately. Or but another thing about choice, you can always change your mind. That's the great thing about life, is if you make a decision, you make a choice, and it isn't exactly what you thought it would be, change it.
It's that simple. You know, you don't have to live in the, well, I made this choice, no, I have to live in it. Like, you know, you made your bed, now you're lying, you know? But you can change that. And when you feel like of there was a story I read, you know, that was wrong. Kids, so why did you to do that? And so he asked them, where did you feel it? And it wasn't right. And most always affects my sense. What's his name? He goes by his gut. His gut. And more times than not, his gut is right. And for us. So, it may not, in some senses, it may not seem right, or to tap into that omniscient. Ernest Holmes tells us that intuition is the voice of the divine. Ability which includes beyond reason, beyond reasonable logic. In the Bible, and Elijah, rock or whatever it is, he sends fire, he sends earthquakes, there's nothing, he hears nothing, he gets nothing out of that. Elijah gets and the thing is that an earthquake, when in essence, I believe, we can have. And it is. We're on this earth. I mean, sometimes we feel, well, why am I here? I need to accomplish something great. I need to be this inventor, this great. But in essence, your being here, my being here, is all we have to do. It's just to be. And to be kind. Don't have to, if we just, you know, heart for another person. And love. Are there times in our lives when we feel disposal? There's much noise. Whether inside our minds or outside, you know, the people on the outside. There's so much noise. And that's the time when we need to stop and be still. Like Reverend Vaughn said last week in his talk, he said we must become still in order to hear the still small voice. Rushing around and you know, your head is spinning and all this, you're probably not going to hear that small voice because everything else is taking priority. But there's like, I'm giving 3 spiritual practices that we can do to help us to allow our personal voice. And the first one is meditation. I think that most of us know it's but there are so many different kinds of meditation. The most common wrong would be about meditation.
I don't think so.
Recording in progress.
Oh, well. Choose quiet the mind. Thereby reduce, and it doesn't have to be a long meditation. They say you need to do like at least 20 minutes to really. That's one of my favorite. Health, it's a gift to do that for ourselves. Just to allow ourselves to be present in that allowing cultivate. We don't and connect with our inner self. Align and so it helps us in different ways. I can get a mostly still mind. Said to things that come up because every time you want to be still to see and understand the divine's plan for our lives. We train ourselves anyway to hear. It's always a good policy project to see what the divine work behind. You're allowing to go up as a sound. So many different ways for each of us. And no one thing is correct. What to do or to ask. It is already doing. To open ourselves to comprehend, to open ourselves. We can't
Visualize.
visualize it on a certain specific day. On a certain specific day, you can visualize on that. Say, for instance, for me, and a lot of this the more process done. So you have to capture that. I love that. Sometimes we go into a project or whatever, think about it, and action's probably better. Vision opens us to it. You can be up there talking and have your talk expressed. The third practice I want to talk about is practicing the presence. I think one of out there. So why not try to be in the place? Tells us the continual practice of presence, a recognition of the sufficient spirit of the divine is moving, making it the principle that governs, supports, and sustains all of our experience. Quiet and stillness. and sometimes you got stillness with next to you or on your lap. In a state of wholeness. You walk down the street, the insects, even the ones we don't like, exist within that. In today's fast-paced, to connect with our true inner selves. So I've been challenging people to think that's one of my reasons voice. For just a habit. You do it in the morning, you do it at night, you do it at lunch. Maybe it's kind of good rut. I love experience I had, but I had another experience in the, I think it was a temple of Karma. You'll be there, I can tell you, it will. Sometimes we can have what we need right in front of us. Sometimes we can have what we need right in front of us. Shape or form or color, for instance. The spirit knows that knows what I think I know what I need. So and even now when I'm alone, to beyond, that keeps us from keeps us from this and that, whatever else in our life. If we try to remove some of that are so busy, so active in our life, be quiet, you know. And that's just like certain things when you're called to certain things, like you know, speak, allow yourself that inner voice, which is the divine within you. And maybe have a and then I'll go away and say, oh, what was that? Slips a little now and then these days. Try a new vision. Just call somebody up, eyes and we get stuck. And it's easy. With yourself. Love curve, in other words, that's what I like to say. Just kick them to the curb. Somebody may pick them up. Or take it back to so I do have an affirmation. And this affirmation,
As I let the stillness express itself throughout so small to guide me, as I let this express itself
song, which I this one was by Beyonce.